Today you're going to watch a video on rheumatoid arthritis, what it is, and the steps that we took with a client to actually fix the root cause of the problem so that way his symptoms did not continue to spiral out of control. My name is Dr. Forrest Sauer, and I practice functional medicine, meaning fixing the root cause of the problem. And the past 11 years, I've helped thousands of clients do just this. So today we're going to talk about what rheumatoid arthritis is, but first we're going to talk about a client of ours who's struggling with these symptoms despite not having the official diagnosis. His name was Chris. He's a 37-year-old male, and his symptoms were vomiting, pain, high blood pressure, anxiety, rheumatoid arthritis, symptoms without the official diagnosis, and low sex drive. And he had already tried everything to feel better. He had tried the diets, medications, he had tried vitamins and supplements, and nothing really made the difference the way that he or his wife was hoping. Like I said, he was 37 years old. He had a very, very active and busy work-life balance with focusing much, much more on work. So there's a lot of stress with all capital letters, stress in his life, and that in part was driving some of the symptoms that he was experiencing. And so what we started doing first is we first started figuring out why was this happening in the first place, answering the big question as to why all of these symptoms were happening. Once we started figuring out this, then we can actually start focusing on the root cause. You see, a big mistake that most people start making is they focus on the symptoms. Most people will focus in trying to figure out why they're vomiting, why they're in pain, why they have high blood pressure, where's the anxiety coming from, low sex drive, and they start supplementing for some of these problems. They'll go ahead and start taking medication for the high blood pressure. Maybe they're taking a probiotic or give up gluten because of the vomiting. Maybe they start taking some L-theanine for the anxiety, and they're chasing symptoms, but what they do is they forget to ask this question right here. So this is why we cannot put the cart before the horse. We have to make certain that we answer this question first. In order to be diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, you actually need to make several different criteria. You need to have a positive rheumatoid factor found in your blood, an anti-cyclic citrulated peptide antibody, big fancy word, basically means that your immune system is attacking your joints. That's helpful to be present. Having morning stiffness. Maybe many of you are like, well, I already have morning stiffness. Do I have RA? Probably not, because you need to meet these other criteria, and I'll share the problem that Chris was facing with this in a second. Arthritis of 3 or more joints, arthritis in your hands. You also need to have rheumatoid nodules already present. You see, because Chris was so young, he was only 37, he didn't have rheumatoid nodules present. This is what you have to have in order to be officially diagnosed with RA. If you don't meet this criteria, then you're not going to be diagnosed, and therefore the doctor is going to tell you that everything is fine and everything is normal and send you on your way. This leaves many clients feeling frustrated, lost, and confused of what actually could be the problem. And this is exactly where Chris was. He was lost, he was frustrated, he didn't know what in the heck was going on, but he knew something was wrong because he was already experiencing many of these problems. He had arthritis of 3 or more joints. It was all over his body. He was in pain. His life sucked. It hurt to move, everything, especially in his hands. He also obviously had morning stiffness, but because they tested for his rheumatoid factor and his anti-citrulated peptide antibody, anti-cyclic citrulated peptide antibody, these were negative. Therefore, he told that he was just fine, and he did not have the rheumatoid nodules yet. And all that they were going to do is really send Chris home, tell him everything's fine, and wait until the symptoms got worse till they could finally diagnose these symptoms and then prescribe him immunosuppressant drug like methotrexate or steroids to help out with the swelling, all the while actually never addressing the root cause of the problem. So let's now dive in to what we did with Chris so that way we could actually fix the root cause of his problem. If you're looking for help with your health and fixing it naturally, feel free to click on the link below and book your free 15-minute phone call with my team. So once again, we needed to answer the big why question. Why was Chris's immune system attacking his joints? Because that's essentially what was happening, was attacking his joints. And this is what we call an autoimmune condition. Autoimmunity, for those of you that don't know, autoimmunity is just like a giant umbrella term. So if you picture an umbrella, bloop, there we go. What this is we have a bunch of autoimmune conditions, for abbreviation, autoimmune conditions. We have a lot of different diseases that can fit underneath here. We have rheumatoid arthritis. We have multiple sclerosis. We have Crohn's. We have the other C, celiac disease. We have Hashimoto's. And the list goes on and on. We have a lot of different conditions here that fit underneath autoimmunity. And the big thing that sadly the main medical community ignores is actually answering the big why question. Why is the immune system actually attacking, in this case, the thyroid or the gut, or in our case today, rheumatoid arthritis, that's the joints, and MS is the nervous system. So what did we do with Chris? Well, first off, we need to figure out the trigger. Now, where we start off with figuring out the triggers is number one is we start figuring out if there's any food sensitivities. So step number one, we brought Chris through actually 1A here is we took very detailed labs with him. So 1A is we took very detailed labs to figure out where the inflammation was, if his liver was functioning, if his gut was functioning, if his thyroid was functioning. We needed to do what I call nose-to-toes lab analysis, figuring out if Chris's body was broken in some way that was not already diagnosed or figured out. So that's step number one. Now this will answer a ton of questions, and unfortunately health insurance only pays for labs that they can prescribe drugs for. So he had already extensive labs taken, but there are so many questions that were left unanswered because a comprehensive lab panel was not tested. So what we do first off is we start off with taking the right labs so that way we can actually know for certain which direction that we needed to direct Chris. The second step here is food sensitivities. Is he sensitive to gluten? Is he sensitive to dairy, corn, soy, sugar? What's going on with Chris? Is there any other food sensitivities that are actually being triggered by his immune system that'll actually cause the immune system to attack the rheumatoid arthritis? Case in point, if you're gluten sensitive, what will happen is every time that you eat gluten, that'll actually trigger the immune system to, in Chris's case, come up and start attacking his joints because his body is looking at gluten just like it is a bacteria or a virus. Now the second step, the third step here along this path, is we needed to detox his body. He had a lot of inflammation, a lot of toxins that were inside of his body. He was a heavy soda drinker. He drank a lot of Mountain Dew, and he hardly drank any water, but he drank a lot of Mountain Dew. He was on the road a lot, so he ate a lot of road food, gas station, diner food. And so there's a lot of chemicals that were creating a tremendous amount of inflammation inside of his body. So we gently detoxed his gut and his liver. Now, the reason why we need to start off with these two is because if you heal your gut, that is going to actually bring a huge calming effect on your immune system. 80% of your immune system is actually located in your gut. And so if he has an autoimmune condition, which he had symptoms of RA, and if he has an immune problem, you need to look and start with the gut because that's where the majority of your immune system is actually located. So you need to start off there. Now the next one, liver. Liver has an R at the end. So liver, the thing with liver is the liver is like the janitor for your body. Remember when I said that he drank a lot of soda and he ate out a lot at fast food restaurants and drank in gas stations? Well, that's a lot of chemical toxins that the liver is now responsible for getting those chemicals out. Well, in Chris's case, his body was truly overloaded by the amount of chemical toxins that he had put in, and his liver could not keep up. And so we needed to take a break, go through a very gentle detox, allowing his liver to now getting the toxins outside of the body, because also what will happen if you have an accumulation of toxins, that will also trigger the immune system to again attack the joints of the body. So there's many different steps that we were taking with him, but these were the first three. The next step is so let me walk you through these again. We took the labs, we took the food sensitivities, we detoxed the body, and then we tested for his gut health. We took an actual stool sample, gut health. How was his gut functioning? Was it functioning, yes or no? Because we needed to see if there was any hidden bacterial or viral infections going on inside. And that's where we found a hidden gut infection. He had a hidden gut infection. I believe it was H. pylori, if my memory serves me correctly. It wasn't a parasite, because that's all the rage right now. It wasn't C. difficile. It wasn't anything super fancy. It was H. pylori. By the way, 50% of Americans have an H. pylori infection, whether you know it or not. And that is backed up by the amount of stool samples that we take with our clients. We see a very, very high incidence of H. pylori infections. And what the H. pylori infection was actually doing was stimulating the immune system to, again, attack his joints. So we need to naturally start healing the H. pylori, getting rid of that bacterial imbalance in the gut. And this is how we actually fixed the root cause of the symptoms that Chris was experiencing. Now, 8 months later, he no longer has the pain or the stiffness in his joints. He knows when his body is sensitive. He knows exactly how to continue living his lifestyle so that way he doesn't have to wake up anymore and feel like, quite frankly, death. He can actually do his job. He doesn't have to sit on the couch and think about, is this going to be the rest of my life? Because we actually fixed the root cause of his rheumatoid arthritis. We brought balance to his immune system. We detoxified the body, healed the gut, healed the liver, and by doing this, we calmed down the autoimmune condition that he had going on. So I hope this was helpful at walking you through exactly how rheumatoid arthritis works and the steps that we took to heal it in one of our clients. My name is Dr. Forrest Sauer. Chat with you soon.